The international stuff's just about done for another month. Celtic head into a challenging run of fixtures in the coming weeks, and all the while, the unrest between the club and various fan groups rumbles on in the background. This is Celtic Exchange Weekly. This is Tino, and this week I'm joined by Miff and James as we once again cover all things Celtic. Miff, the fans have been missing you in recent weeks. What are you saying on your return to the show?
Hello Tino, hello James. Yeah, it's nice to hear. Just been a bit mental couple of weeks, but lovely to be back. And international week not so good. If you thought Brodgeball was frustrating and a poor watch, wait till you see Clapball.
It's hard going.
Ooh, wow. Yeah, it's been quite interesting. So yeah, poorly functioning football teams aside, great to be back. I really enjoyed the Motherwell game in the end. I think that's going to do the team a real bit of good. Because I think the team in that squad needed something like that just to be a wee catalyst. The off the field stuff doesn't look like it's going away anytime soon, and for me it's just that theme that keeps cropping up of the board thinking that we are all just a bunch of absolute yokels.
Yeah, and we're going to cover all of the above as we go through here, and we're going to try and kind of strike the right balance between the football stuff, you know, the stuff that we usually cover, and the off-field stuff, James, which we can't ignore at this moment in time. What's your own comments to open the show?
Yeah, I mean, you want to touch on the international stuff that nobody really wants to talk about. I think in the end, you know, if he gets there and stuff, you kind of go, aye, all right, but it's just that hard to watch, you know. I think they're getting away with it. It's not like they're playing boring football like maybe sometimes Mourinho played that was, you know, deliberate and had the desired result. They're getting results kind of luckily. I mean, Greece must be going, you what? You know what I mean?
See, I can't believe, I said this to my mates, I can't believe the net output of what I've just watched over those two games is 6 points and a guaranteed playoff place.
Unbeaten.
What you think? It's mental, but you'll take it any day of the week.
You'll take it. And some are also questioning, you know, how can you have McTominay and
Gilmore,
Dope and Gilmore and all these players, Andy Robertson, European Cup winner, and produce that. So I had the debate, just very quickly, we'll move on from international stuff, but do you really care? Do you care if Scotland don't play free-flowing football as long as they qualify?
Do you know when I realised that, listen, I always feel like I care. I know what you mean, but do you really have that emotional connection same as you do with your club team? But for me, I do with Scotland, and my heart absolutely sank when Belarus equalised.
Yeah, you thought here it comes.
Absolutely sank.
The reason you care is, and Ange used to talk about this a lot, I'm training you to be playing good football and winning games. What Clark is training us for is to squeak into a tournament and get absolutely horsed and sent up a road.
Yep.
That's what happened.
Looking forward to getting horsed in America. I got quite good. To link it back to Celtic, James, how do you feel that a Tony Ralston and a KT feel? So you'll have seen John McGinn's interview post-match. He was like, let's not kid on about it, that was rotten, but we're there, and you know, we're there on merit, and we've got 6 points and you just need to move on. Is that how the players will be feeling coming back? I mean, the job was to get 6 points. They got 6 points.
Yeah, and if you're in a dressing room that is getting closer and closer to qualifying and is qualified for at least a playoff, that is a bonus. You know where I'm at with Elson, huge fan. I think the hair's a problem. I think he needs to go back to a mad mental haircut. This
Wouldn't disagree.
floppy boy band stuff.
Wouldn't disagree.
I worry that he's starting to lose a yard of pace.
He's young enough for that.
But he's had some heavy duty injuries.
Yeah.
You know, maybe he's still kind of getting back up to speed from his latest injury as well.
We have had Anthony Ralston's reserve at the club all along. KT right back. Reserve right back.
Yeah, it was interesting to see.
When he's fit.
Just the last thing you mentioned, you know, Mourinho and all that stuff. Steve Clarke and Mourinho worked hand in hand. I think they worked closely together at Chelsea, and Mourinho raves about him and stuff. But anyway, we'll get back to all that. You've only got another month to wait before you get more international duty.
I heard that in your daily today. This is a nonsense, man.
It's always going to be the way.
But it wasn't always this regular, was it?
Just as you've just got all these games to fit in.
Kind of once every 4 or 5 weeks. I live with that, man.
Scotland's last two games, they take place mid-November. To bring it fully back to Celtic, Miff, did the international break come at a good time for Celtic to allow us to reset?
Nah, not necessarily. No. But I think the momentum from a last minute victory at home, and you know, the
wee shipping party as well.
Yeah. There was loads of wee kind of sub pots contained within it that I thought, we could have been doing with another game coming pretty quickly. But it's not necessarily just about Celtic. There's real comparisons with Hearts run at the moment with Aberdeen's last season, that there's certain sort of victories that they've just kind of snuck in there. They've done it against Hibs. They've done it against, come back for 3 down against Motherwell and stuff like that as well. So listen, they're showing real resilience. It's not that, it's not in any way I dig it Hearts, but the question will always remain when a team from outside the Celtic or Rangers go on a run like that is can they sustain it? What I will say is there appears to be a wee bit of depth to the Hearts squad, more so than in recent years. So I think for us, having a victory like that, we could have been doing with just, getting another game in and some of those players really backing up those performances. But it just feels the brand of football we're playing now is quite strange, and the manager himself is coming out and saying that and saying, look, we're not where I want us to be. It's really just over to them now to see, well, can you get us to where you want us to be, because we'd all really like you to get there.
But while you're trying to get to where you want to get to, winning games of football is a habit that you want to stay in. Just in terms of Hearts, very quickly, we had the chat last week, me, you and Paddy, about if Hearts are still in the mix by Christmas, and there's nothing to indicate they wouldn't be, could they go and strengthen and, spend a couple of quid? And we had the debate on whether they had the money and, FSR stuff. But someone made the very good point. They've got very close relationships with a Brighton and a Union St Galway. Yeah. So could a couple of fringe players maybe be loaned in to strengthen their offer?
Or sold. If they got anyone that's shown enough that they could sell them for 2, 3, 4, 5 million and sort of their FSR rate. I did look at it. I looked at the numbers. On the single year, they're pretty close to the bumper, but it's over 3 years, so they might be well comfortable. If you're in charge of Hearts and you're Tony Bloom and you absolutely should.
Yeah. But the interesting thing about Tony Bloom is, I'm obviously like my horse racing, as you know. So he's quite a prominent owner.
The Lizard.
Quite a prominent owner, and is known to land a very big gamble. Has his horses with really good trainers. And it was interesting because Jim Delahunt, obviously, he does a bit of the racing and all that sort of stuff as well. And he said one thing about Tony Bloom is his timing's generally excellent. It's to pull off a gamble, there's a lot of factors that need to be involved. And that's what he feels, just this timing of the investment in Hearts is just typical of the kind of Tony Bloom touch, where he's just doing it at the right time. So, listen, it was always going to happen one day that somebody would come and disrupt the dominance that Celtic and maybe less so Rangers in recent years, but Celtic and Rangers have enjoyed. So I think it's something we just need to embrace, but also something I think we need to treat with respect and take seriously, because whilst Hearts may very well taper off this year, this will be sustained, in my opinion. This will be sustained over a number of years.
I'm more concerned in years 3, 4, 5, say. Obviously, Rangers having kind of just utterly imploded. It makes it one less challenge for Hearts. They've only really got us to go up. But I think we'll be 4 points clear at the end of the month. That's my prediction on it. I think they'll drop. I think they'll get drops coming, and I think we'll beat them at Tynecastle.
Yeah, and we'll look ahead to that and a few other games in a moment. But from Tony Bloom's point of view, the big statement was he feels that they had it within them to go and win a title within the next 10 years. And I think he's dramatically reviewing that. And he might not get a better chance than what's happening right now while we're in a state of flux. And that's, as a gambling man, he might just say, do you know what? I can go for this right now.
Yep. I think there's plenty of chances to be us in Hearts for many, many years to come. The utter shambles that they are.
Let's see. We spoke about the break coming at a good time or not, and you mentioned, rightly so, Michelangelo Balikwisha. He took a real dose of confidence out of playing his part, setting up the last minute winner for Daisen Maeda against Motherwell. What version of him do you think we're going to see after the break? There's been lots of talk. He was speaking on the website in the last few weeks. All of a sudden, from a really lacklustre start, there seems to be a new energy around him.
It's too soon to say in terms of what we've seen. I know he's been there, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 weeks, but it's still too early in terms of the performances he's put in, because the initial ones were looking really, really poor. Not counting the ones on the right-hand side, because that was a nonsense. Even playing Dyson out, there's a nonsense, of course. But no, I mean, I think what you've got from the Motherwell game is a bit of a platform to build on, but build on it you must if you want to be rated. He's got a long way to go.
Oh, thank you. I think for me, it's very interesting that at that time, when you think of the context of what was going on in the game, that Rodgers turned him. So what does that tell me? There must be something in training, bits that we've not seen.
Or no options.
Well, there is that as well. But he could have rejigged things and maybe put Dyson back out there or put Johnny Kane on or whatever. But my point is that we chased him for a long time. There seems to be a bit of faith in him internally. But ultimately for him, what was there for him to lose? A lot of people, as they generally do, will make their minds up on players after the first couple of games and go, no chance. What he's done it with Kuhn. You remember, Kuhn did look fairly well.
Evidence.
We were at Kuhn's debut at Hibs, and you come away for that, and of course, it's his first appearance, but you thought this guy looks shell shocked, but rabbit in the headlights kind of stuff.
Well, that's and I think that was initially Kuhn's issue, was getting used to it. So if you take all those factors into account, we've tracked him for a while for a reason, but he's came on and he's had an impact. It's like you say, James, it's what comes next, but at least he's got that confidence for doing it.
Yeah.
And to me, positions that he took up and the hunger that he showed was the bit that I enjoyed the most.
I think the player himself, either the night of the Motherwell game or the night after, put up something on Instagram about it just takes time, something along those lines. So he's basically asking for that time, and he's going to be well backed in the games that follow, and hopefully we can see more Motherwell stuff and less of the stuff that came before it.
I'd seen a snippet on Twitter before he signed, and he had moved back to playing a holding midfield role.
Holding midfield?
With Royal Antwerp, yep.
So I read comments last week from
number 9,
the manager that gave him his debut. That'll come back to me. And he says he thinks he can be a centre forward. This guy used to coach Ousmane Dembele out at PSG before he went to PSG. And he sees the same qualities to a slightly lesser extent in Balikwisha than he does in Dembele.
He's all in.
But the guy was just saying he's got the pace, the technical ability, and various other attributes that could make him a really interesting option through the middle. So I don't know, maybe there's a chance of that happening. We'll wait and see. But as I say, more encouraging against Motherwell than we'd seen before, and hopefully we see more of that. Also encouraging, and you've very possibly seen it this morning, is footage of Alistair Johnston back in training up at Lennoxtown. James, that is a massive boost. I don't know if it's far too soon for him to be considered for Sunday against Dundee, but having him around is a massive boost to the squad.
Yeah, I mean, I think, interestingly, both fullbacks now, you've both got guys that will smash into tackles, and that can assert your team.
Do you mean KT or Sarachi?
Well, yeah, all three of them.
The Uruguay captain,
Uruguay
Sarachi.
Captain. But I think that's one of the biggest things you get, aside from Johnson's just talent and ability to get down the line and put good crosses in and be involved in goals. It's his steel, and he doesn't take any nonsense. So I think with that in mind and the kind of player he is, I don't want to see him Sunday. Maybe if you're comfy, come on and get 5-10 minutes under your belt, just start to feel the turf again, and then bleed him back in over the next. You say a few weeks, but there's Hearts away. You know what I mean?
You want him for that. I'm going to run through. Celtic have got this situation where we've got 7 games, 7 very different challenges coming up over the next 3 weeks, give or take, and they're all important in their own different ways. And you would definitely want Alistair Johnston to be back part of that. And if you can't underestimate, him and Jota being out is a massive blow to Celtic, because they are 2 starters. And Celtic's best 11 right now, they both start.
Listen,
absolutely. It'll be huge to get them back.
Absolutely. And this is the thing, often you'll hear managers these days talk about personality, but back in the day it was wee Strachan talking about characters. Good characters. And I think that Johnston definitely fits that. I think the team would miss him regardless of playing ability. Just the players would miss him being in the pitch around match day, all those types of things as well, because he is that sort of effervescent type of character. So for me, you just need your best players out in the pitch, going back to basics. And this Celtic team, much like it needs the fans' support, so all these protests and fragmentations are coming at a really bad time, because that team really needs support. The new players need built up. The old guard need to find a way to kind of plough through a wee bit of bad form that they're on. They need the support of the fans to do that. But also, you need your best players out in the pitch. So if any Celtic team without Jota and Johnston is a weaker team, simple as that.
It's that easy. Let's get to those 7 games. So is it too dramatic to say it's 7 games that will shape our season? Maybe. But it will certainly have a big impact. James, I'll read them out first and get your take, because they're all very important and they're across 3 different competitions. So the way it runs out, it's Sunday, Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday, Thursday, Sunday. And
sorry, could you repeat that?
I'll confirm the dates. It's a 21-day period from this game on Sunday against Dundee. So Sunday coming, 19th of October, Dundee away in the league. Thursday, 23rd of October, Sturm Graz at home, Europa League. Massive game, because if you lose that, you can probably forget it.
Yep.
We've got 1 point out of 6.
It.
Well, are you? Why are you saying that?
Because I think we've got so much work to do in the league because the fragmentation of the team. I think it's going to be difficult.
I'm not okay with it. I think that'd be a huge disappointment to fizzle out of that.
If you could pick one thing to do this year, is win the league or go quite far in Europa.
Why not have both?
if you had to pick one, was the question.
But if you could pick two. Okay, so we'll cover that in a second. Third game, Sunday 26th of October. Massive game. Hearts away, Hearts at Tynecastle. Top of the league Hearts, who are currently 2 points ahead, and we'll see if that remains the case by then. We then play Falkirk in the league on the Wednesday night at Celtic Park, 29th of October. And it's another biggie, Sunday 2nd of November, Rangers at Hampden League Cup semi-final. Managerless Rangers. They might still be by then.
Yeah.
I don't know. Any take on that?
Steven Gerrard would be there.
I really wanted him back.
Same.
Yeah.
It was
The whole of Glasgow was divided in their disappointment on Saturday night.
It was a no lose really, because really wanted him back, and then when they put that mealy mouth nonsense out, it wasn't the right time, whatever kind of thing. They were so devastated I couldn't stop enjoying it. So it's like,
There's no actual lions though, is there?
no lies there,
There's no actual lions there, is there?
So Stevie G-less Rangers or Rangers-less Stevie G. We'll see who's in charge by then. They've got Stevie Smith, the under-19s manager, taking training this week. Disarray on and off the park. Let's see what happens by 2nd of November. Then we play Midtjylland away Thursday 6th of November. As I say, we're right in the midst of a qualifying campaign or not at that point. And then the last game of the 7 is Sunday 9th November, Kilmarnock at home in the league. Miff, as I say, all different types of challenges in different ways, but they will have a big bearing on how our season plays out here.
Pivotal.
That's the word. That's what I was looking for.
Pivotal. Yeah, but the combination of the international breaks, European scheduling, League Cup, all those things, it's a brutal schedule, but it's brutal all the way through. I mean, that's just the nature of modern football, is it's game after game after game, and all the different formats. But the simple thing at Celtic is the fans care not of schedules. They just look at victories. That's all the Celtic fans are interested in. So is this squad robust enough? I think that's maybe tapping into what James is saying there around something's probably going to need to give if we want to maximise league performance.
If you get to January and you're still in those tournaments, then by all means bolster and go for it kind of thing. But I think we're so stretched at the moment.
It just feels to me that there's a lack of depth in the squad, and also to a degree a lack of confidence.
Coming back.
Part of that being that, if you look at somebody like Callum McGregor as an example, we bit off it, I think by his high standards. But then if he's then used to turning round and maybe it's a bit of Jota magic or a bit of Johnston steel that gets you out of trouble.
Generous.
He's not got those guys there. There's new players in the team. Tierney's feeling his way back in. All those things. It just feels like the balance, the rhythm, whatever you want to call it, it's just not really quite there now. But you mentioned earlier, Tino, we're still picking up points. We're still only 2 points behind Hearts, despite all these travails going on. So these games coming up, we could have been in a lot worse shape getting into them. You just need to be quite realistic about that. But whatever challenges we've had and whatever grumblings there are going on at boardroom level or between the fans and the board, that's probably always really existed, because we've always wanted the change that we're asking for. It's not really came to the fore as much. Some people did go in early with their protests, James.
Even then, I don't think it was as stark as this.
But again, they took us to the brink by such a poorly performed transfer window.
Apparently 2 years ago he tried to set up Celt for change.
Aye, Celt for change.
Save ourselves.
Still got it.
Aye, still there. But we could be better prepared going into these games, absolutely. But the fact is, in my opinion anyway, it could have been a hell of a lot worse.
I agree with that. I think Celtic, for all the stop-start nature of the season so far, we're 13 games in, but it's been so up and down, so disjointed. We're still unbeaten domestically. And actually, Almaty, you draw the 2 games, but it's a disaster overall. You get out in penalties. And it's only that loss to Braga, a couple of weeks ago there, that's the first proper loss over 90 minutes. So it is. People accused me of, what was it, taking the Kool-Aid. If you didn't like all that chat, you're not going to like my next suggestion. What's to stop Celtic, if they get their confidence in their form back, winning all 7 of those games? I know it feels a million miles away right now, but just take them all in isolation. What's the hardest one? Is it Rangers at Hampden? No. Yeah, Hearts, I've got to say Hearts away, probably. Midtjylland away, maybe. But the other ones you should be taking care of. Is it ridiculous to think Celtic can win all 7?
No,
And do you want a glass of my Kool-Aid?
No, I think the issue is, you're looking at on paper, should Celtic beat those 7 teams? Yeah. On paper, we should beat Almaty by a cricket score, home and away. So it's not that. If the effect of the board's absolute madness in the summer is that it dented the confidence and disrupted the ability for the players to gel, whilst we still ground out results bar Braga. The draws obviously are a worry. Draws will kill you in football. But if the only effect is it dented the confidence and it delayed how long it takes to gel, and we're now starting to get that, but that's got to really come together on Sunday and give Elvis a right good scalping. That's the only way we'll have any indication that is the case, if they go out on Sunday and shows who they can be.
Yeah, you've got to pick up where you left off against Motherwell. And I thought after Motherwell scored to go 2-1 up, I thought Celtic were really good. I thought we really took the game to them and we deserved the win. I know we left it late. Go on.
Jamesy, come on.
James Forrest was good, having not been so good in the couple of games prior.
Easy.
My flip ask, though,
Easy.
do you think there's any possibility of coming through all 7 unscathed?
Well, listen, the vast majority of people listening to this podcast will be going, they expect to win all 7 games. That it's the nature of it. At Celtic, I don't think you're looking at any of those games and going, I will accept even a draw there. Maybe away to Meachon, maybe away to Hart.
How come you always predict draws then?
No, but I'm talking about just the general expectation of Celtic fans. I think we'll all go, but I'm just a pessimist. But I think people listening, when you list those games, we should be winning all of them, really. Or expecting, we should be expecting to win all of them.
Yeah, you shouldn't get any of them fearing the worst.
No,
that's the thing.
Confident.
Let me focus in on the different tournaments specifically then. So Europa League, I'm keen to get your thoughts on that then. So the suggestion is 12 points would take you through. We know the deal by now. Top 8 go through automatically, and then places 9 to 24 go into a playoff like we did against Bayern last season, to then go into the final whatever stages. Or 1 point from 6. So as I say, the margin for error isn't great, to the point where
both winnable games.
Yeah, very much so.
In the game, I mean.
Mm-hmm. And you must go and win your home game against Sturm Graz. But so I've got your initial take. Can you take it or leave it, Europa League, or do you want to go for it here?
I think the Europa League is the unfortunate victim of everybody's scunneredness. That may or may not be a word. Or at the board, the failure to qualify, the lack of investment, and all those things. Which is probably a wee bit tad unfair, because I actually think it's a reasonably favourable draw. It's just that the Braga result and performance probably encapsulated everything that's happened at the start of the season all in one.
Yeah.
Some good bits, but a lot of absolute nonsense that resulted in a poor result and a lot of anger. All you can say is, I know it's in a different competition, but the team did rebound and showed a bit of steel and a bit of character that maybe a lot of us didn't think they necessarily had, to be able to bounce back off the ropes like that. So, it's a tournament we need to take seriously, in my opinion. I don't know for how long we've spoke about the differences between levels of Champions League and the Europa. I think it would be a real missed opportunity if we didn't take this seriously and have a proper tilt at it. I don't really like the argument of, well, if you to win the league or go a run, we should be looking to do both. And I don't mean that to be to be arrogant or anything like that. What I mean is just that simply the way the Celtic are as a club, you're going into each competition to just try your level best to win it. I know it's fanciful to think that we could win the Europa because of the squad depth more than anything else. If you get your strongest starting 11 for now at the end of the season, you could maybe give it a good go, but we're still a wee while away for that, because we know Johnston's got to need to take a while to come back, and Jota's probably not got to be on the park until January. So I take it seriously. The Braga results probably a wee bit harsh. So if you look at it in that context, maybe we can pull those points back elsewhere, and if we do in the next couple of games, then we're right in there.
I mean, there's 6 games to go, so therefore there's 18 points up for grabs, of which, as I say, 12 will most likely get you through. So should we take it seriously, toler it, and then go, I didn't really fancy it anyway? Like, how should the club... You better believe the players will want to go and do something.
Of course they will.
And that's the thing. So we can all have opinions on, well, do you know what, league's a priority or whatever. The team will want to go for this.
You can't set up to draw or lose a game. Maybe Bodo Glimt away aside. I think Ange definitely did do that. But that was, I suppose, late in a tournament, just wanted to focus on league, which was, I suppose, the argument I'm kind of making. He went, right, I know where the focus needs to be now. So the problem is I don't have the confidence that we have the depth to go a game every 3 days and keep going to the well, we will be going second string, and the second string is weak. That's the problem.
I think that you're right. It's more a squad depth issue rather than a desire to do well in the tournament.
Yeah, because I think out with this glaring right wing issue, positional right wing issue on the park, there's a pretty decent starting 10-ish at Celtic. I think when you...
I think the midfield conundrum continues to be an issue for me.
Tombola.
We've not quite got that.
Any 3 from 6.
Yeah.
But I don't think the right 3 have ever really been playing.
CCV's a big problem.
I think he's becoming a big problem.
Michael's a problem.
Okay, so I don't want to dwell on those individuals too much at this moment in time, but let's look to the next tournament, and it's the League Cup. So we play Rangers in the semi-final on the 2nd of November. Listen, there's a massive incentive to go and win and go and retain that trophy. Where does that fall in terms of priorities? First trophy of the season, big boost, and equally a big disappointment if you crashed out?
I think it is a bit more important than Europa for me, because the squad is much maligned, and if you go and beat Rangers on the way to picking up the first piece of silverware of the season, is it going to be this side of Christmas, or they moved it again? Is it? You can never tell.
Can't remember. Probably mid-December.
Well, there you go. So within the calendar year, you get a trophy on the board, and the confidence you would get from that,
big boost.
And all you need to do is beat that mess and someone else to get it.
Who is it again? St Mirren and Motherwell in the other semi-final.
Yep.
So if you win the semi, you're strong. In fact, your favourites right now to win the whole thing. But there's no doubt, Miff, beating Rangers at any time in any competition gives Celtic players, fans, coaches, and everyone alike a boost.
Well, as is the nature of things in Scotland, it's generally one of 2 teams that are winning. It's either Celtic or Rangers. So if Celtic aren't winning, it's most likely going to be Rangers. I know
two interesting teams. Motherwell and St Mirren.
They don't have their troubles to seek, and that's what I was going to say. That the difference here is that you've got a rejuvenated Motherwell playing a brand of football that I don't really think MD could have foreseen before the start of the season, and it's been a very enjoyable one to watch, very brave. And then you have probably the opposite with St Mirren, and just a really, really well drilled and organised team. And Robinson has been backed over a number of years to bring in that team and develop it, and it just shows you what happens when you do give a manager time.
Yeah. He's a good manager.
He's just a very, very good coach. So it's really intriguing, and you mentioned as being favourites, but it's by no means certain if we beat Rangers that we are going to go on and win it. And we've only got the Scottish Cup final to look back in May to show that. And if anything, you would say our squad's weaker since then. So there's loads of variables at play, but ultimately what you're hoping is that midfield balance does become a wee bit better in the coming weeks. You find what 3 is going to work, and sometimes that might be horses for courses, but I definitely think the time's coming where it might not involve Callum McGregor. I really do.
I think that's a big chat. We'll park it for now. We've touched on it in recent weeks. I think it's definitely one that's going to reoccur at different points.
Turns out it's Balaquisha.
What about him?
Aye.
Number 6.
He's your whole midfielder.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Last one to touch on then. So obviously we've mentioned them a few times now, but Hearts at Tynecastle, 3rd game in this 7-game run. James, obviously we've got to take care of Dundee first of all, but the chance will then present itself to jump back to the top of the table, and no bigger incentive required for the players there.
Absolutely not. And that's the thing. It's, if you take that Mother result, and if you go and get a big result, and then you go and keep going, and then you're set up for that, with momentum. We can build that momentum, after the disruption of the international break. We can build that back up before that game. I think it's just really, really interesting. I'm genuinely happy to see an alternative challenge coming into Scottish football.
Yeah.
You always felt the Aberdeen one was a wee bit, built on sand.
I didn't see it capitulating the way it did, to be honest with you.
Not to that degree, but you also didn't see them maintaining it. I think whatever happens, if we can get top of the league, by the end of the month, I think Hearts will be snapping their heels all the way through. I don't think they'll drift. I think there's just something different going on at Hearts, and the atmosphere, because of the structure and the confidence you have in someone like Tony Bloom, who doesn't mess about.
Yeah, there's a bit of stability there that maybe didn't exist at Aberdeen last season. So 7 really important games, all for different reasons, but all games to look forward to.
It depends if Deke King's a bit.
Deke McInnes,
he would be mental to move from that.
Money talks.
Mental.
I mean, I don't know, probably double, treble his wages.
But then Tony Bloom might go, I'll give you the better wage to stay. Or Tony Bloom might go, I've admired someone else anyway, and I'll take £500,000 to let you go.
Yeah, who knows?
More sunbed shops in Glasgow than Edinburgh.
We'll see what happens there in the next week or so. Okay, let's move on to the next section. Miff, Do you like games?
I love games.
Do you like a wee quiz?
What quiz?
You're in luck. So, all to be revealed. So, as regular listeners will know, we launched our brand new channel on Patreon at the start of this season. This allows our members to enjoy extra content from us throughout the week. That includes pre- and post-match podcasts for every Celtic game, including those 7 that we just mentioned. Plus, we provide an update podcast every single day during the week to keep you fully up to date on all things Celtic. And finally, we've got an exclusive members-only chat community where you can talk Celtic 24/7 with like-minded fans. Miff, all for a £5, as you know.
Sounds phenomenal.
First of all, a massive thanks to so many of our listeners who have already joined us there, and the community's thriving and it's great to see so many folks involved, but we want to see even more people make the jump. To make that easier for you, here's what we're going to do tonight. Miff and James are going to take part, but just for fun, I'm going to ask you 5 questions. We're calling it 5 in a row.
No money?
No money for you lads, 5 in a row. I'm going to ask 5 very straightforward Celtic questions, but don't reveal your answers here on the mics just yet. And the first 20 listeners who email me, Tino at thecelticexchange.com, with all 5 correct answers will be given a link to enjoy a whole month's membership of our Patreon for just £1. Pound, Miff. Can you believe it?
That's a bargain.
It's incredible. So, are you ready? We'll run through the 5 questions now. Question number 1, as I say, don't shout out. Just keep your answers to yourself for now. But question number 1, who is Celtic's top scorer this season across all competitions? Played 13 games. Who is the top scorer? I'll move on quickly to question number 2. Celtic have played 13 games so far this season. How many of those 13 have we won? How many wins out of 13 games? Question number 3. What number does Kelechi Iheanacho wear for Celtic? So, main man through the middle these days, but it's not number 9. What number does Kelechi Iheanacho wear for Celtic?
I didn't ask for any clues.
That's fine. You're not getting any more for questions 4 and 5. Question 4. Sebastian Tenetke picked up his 5th international cap during the break. What country does he play for? And finally, and this is what you need, Miff, for 5 in a row and for anyone listening at home, but
Cinco.
5th question, who did Celtic sign Michelangelo Balikwisha from? So we chased him for about what felt like 3.5 seasons, but we finally got him. Who did we sign him from? So remember, if you've not already done so, then you can check out the brilliant Patreon membership at patreon.com/Celtic Exchange. And if you think you know the answers to all 5 of those questions, then email me right now. Don't wait, there's only 20 places up for grabs here. So email Tino at thecelticexchange.com. And as mentioned, we'll reveal the answers in next week's show. Let's move on. We've spoken briefly about the off-field stuff. So the meeting and the subsequent minutes that created a lot of headlines last week. The meeting was at Celtic Park last Monday night, this time last Monday, 6th of October. And the minutes then followed a few days later on Thursday. It was clear there was a bit of back and forth. The collective and the various fan groups that had been at the meeting wanted to coordinate with the club to agree on those minutes. And that seems to be what played out. And those minutes, as I say, were published on Thursday at 5 o'clock. James, your general take on that at the moment?
I think there was a bit of scene setting from folk who wanted to get their side of the story out first. It was a bit misleading, where Celtic didn't admit to anything wrong, having made no mistakes, and so on and so on. And then when the kind of statement came out from Celtic, I was like, oh, wait a minute, that doesn't tally. And then the minutes came out, and it does tally. Celtic have written what they said. So that there's no underhandedness. That was good to see, but disappointing folk saying...
So you're saying Celtic
fans were making out Celtic hadn't admitted any wrongdoing. They just stonewalled everything. But then in their statement, they said, no mistakes were made, we'll learn, blah, blah, blah. The usual platitude, no nonsense kind of thing. But at least they said it. When it was denied, that was even said. So just a kind of bit of a plea that, if you, maybe you're off the toilet or something like that kind of thing, you missed it, then just make sure that what you're putting out is accurate. I can understand the keenness to help people out and put them in the picture and stuff like that, but we've got to get the full story.
I think it's probably a headache the collective could have done without. So to get the numbers right, there were 6 reps from Celtic at the meeting. Obviously, Michael Nicholson and Chris Mackay plus 4 others, and 21 reps from a lot from the Celtic Fans Collective and some from Celtic Supporters Association, the affiliation, etc., etc. But it seems that one of those 21 have gone a bit rogue. And you've seen the WhatsApp that was doing the rounds within minutes of the meeting closing.
I don't think with any malicious intent, just like a keenness to put people in the picture and stuff like that. But it's important.
It was sent round #confidential.
Don't share.
Don't forward this on. And by the time we all get it, WhatsApp
has been forwarded many times.
Forwarded many times. So that's a something. But I'm sure the collective are keen to address that. And it seemed it was a wee bit reactionary, that message itself. Some elements of it were true, but it seemed it was a wee bit not quite.
I think the format's wrong. That's a kind of town hall format, which is an airing of views, but our views were well aired. Celtic knew what the problems were. The statements prior, let them know that. When you have a town hall meeting, was it 21 reps?
21 reps,
Right.
6 from Celtic.
So these guys are all working hard in their own time. To be commended. But I think that's always going to be difficult. First of all, to keep a tight ship, and second of all, to get commonality as to what you're taking away from this meeting. That should be certainly no more than 6, but preferably something like 4 or 5 bodies.
You'd probably say, understandably so, Miff, it would probably be 21 fairly angry, fairly pissed off reps going into that meeting, just given the nature of how things have gone.
I think this is the tipping point that we're getting to, and that in many ways, I don't think the Celtic board would be disappointed if that's the way that it went. People did get angry and people did get upset, because I think that's what, there is a slightly provocative tone coming for the Celtic board, as I was going to say, see, well, I told you so, you can't behave yourself, you don't know any better than us, now way back to your shanties and let us go in there. So I think it has to be done in a very constructive way, and so if that means less is more around representatives and stuff like that, and like James says, it's not me that's giving up my time to go, and it's not me that's pushing this. I am absolutely not in any way having a go at the 21 representatives that did turn up. My point is that it is entirely natural that of those 21 people, there would be a bit of, the temperature would be quite hot, given everything that's going on, and it's completely understandable. But there is also a small part of me that thinks that our board would welcome that, because it would give them a bit of deflection and a bit of a, well, see, I told you so. When that's not what's needed. What's needed is that drive and that pathway towards systematic change in the way that the club's structured, especially around transfer operations. There was the foundation dinner down in London at the weekend as well. I know a couple of guys that were down there, and I think that there was parts where Nicholson was getting a few verbal volleys off people and stuff like that as well. So I think we always exactly that's my point, is that how this is direct. We all care. Everybody cares. But at the same time, whatever your thoughts are on Michael Nicholson and the people in charge, I think it's a stretch to say that they don't care. They care, but at the same time, they still need to be held to account as to the performance of the job that they do. I think the fans are absolutely well within their rights to do that, but there obviously is a certain way to be putting that across as well. So I think we're just at a danger where it gets to a tipping point, in my opinion. I think that this really needs some progressive dialogue and discussion between the club and the collective, even if it is in a smaller number, to say, rather than just an admission of some mistakes, we now need to see what are the intentions, what are the intentions to do something about it, because it really, really is now time for action. Because the worst thing that can happen is that some sort of stalemate develops, and it's like, we know we've done some things wrong, but you'll just need to wait and see as to what we do. And then you've still got the collective, in whatever form it comes, pushing and pushing and pushing. It's just going to create a bigger gap between support for the team and, I think ultimately performance in the pitch.
Well, this is where we potentially find ourselves just now, that everyone knows there was mistakes. Fans know, the board have admitted to mistakes. Anyone who's been following the situation can see that. But that's fine. That's one part of the process. We can all agree there's been issues, but it is all about what you do next. And we've said this before: talk is cheap and actions are where it's from. A quick question for you, James. There was some suggestion. I think a lot of the either the individuals who were there or the wider support who backed the collective in general were a wee bit underwhelmed. I don't know if some thought this was going to be a silver bullet meeting where you'd come out and go, great news, Peter Lawwell's out, we're going to change how we do transfers, this is the new structure in terms of corporate governance, blah, blah, blah.
Desmond's turned on his shares.
Dermot Desmond's calling it a day. That was never going to happen. But I think meeting 1, my hope is, leads to meeting 2, 3, 4 and 5.
Yeah.
But there's some folks who have said, what's the point? Let's not take any meetings. You're just playing into their hands. What's your response to that?
No, absolutely not. The ambition for meeting 1 is to get meeting 2. That's sales basic kind of thing. Just keep the engagement going. I think if that then starts to thin down, where you're still collecting the opinions of the 420 to the 21 to the 5, if you say you nominate your 5 and you nominate one of that 5 as well as someone to kind of lead the charge, for want of a better expression. But no, I don't agree with the disengagement at all. There was an option to engage earlier, we missed it, and that was a mistake. So don't then repeat that mistake because they didn't all go your own way. It doesn't all go your own way in the first meeting. My biggest issue with Celtic's response on it is they were pointing back to the transfer window, admitting mistakes as if it was isolated. It's structural, endemic, and cultural. That transfer window was so bad that it pushed even the kind of mild-mannered folk into protest. Do you know what I mean?
Awesome friend of the show and regular contributor here called it an all-timer. Because we've seen so many bad transfer windows, but that just seemed for different reasons to top it all off. Sorry to interrupt, I'd done a bit of a summary of the meeting, or the minutes of the meeting on Friday on the Daily, so it was just 15 minutes or so just kind of focusing on the key things that came out of it. And there's 3 key areas of focus for me. One is communication. For me, that is at the heart of everything.
Freebie.
If you communicate better in all aspects, even your bad stuff, you're in a better position all round. The transfer policy and how we do business, absolutely, it's a big issue. And corporate governance. What was your main takeaways? What's the biggies for you?
Well, the corporate governance / transfer comes into the structural thing, the structural element, if you want to call it that. I think that encompasses both. The point I was just going to make a wee bit earlier, which actually does segue into that, as well as engagement and dialogues required, because this is effectively political. It's like politics in the sense that you're dealing with people who you can't really shift. It's not like politics in the sense that we can vote them out. We can maybe vote with our feet, vote with our money and how we spend our money at the club and things, but that would take a real groundswell. So the way that we engage here has to be done in the right way. For me, I think the communication's always been perfect, because again, I think it goes back to the attitude towards us as fans. We are spoken down to quite a lot. You even get that in a lot of the very simple messages that come out. So I think I just think there has to be a review of mainly how the board view the fans. To be honest with you, I'm happy to get into all the structural stuff around transfers, around recruitment, whether you're having the head coach model and all that, and who those people should be, who should be the custodians. Is Nicholson fit for purpose? Was Lowell still in the building? All that. They'll all be issues. But ultimately, I think it's brought to the fore for me as to how we are viewed. Are we even viewed as fans anymore? I think we're actually viewed more as customers. And
has been the case for us at time, hasn't it?
So you're verging into that sort of territory now, where I think that there has to be a bit of contrition for the board to say, right, look, yes, we know we've messed up, but I go back to it. It's been a bugbear of mine. You could dig out other episodes. Something as simple as what you get for your season ticket now in terms of games, the games that are no longer there, whether it be a qualifier, whether it be a cup game, whether it be a friendly.
Shrinkflation.
Those things. It's like, come on, guys. There's just so many ways. Like, communication's an easy win. There's so many ways you could win the fans back on side as you go along in this journey. It'll come in different forms and it'll take time. There's so many small things you can do to win the fans back. It's really over to the board to show us that they mean business.
See if you're 20 million in the red, right, and we're scrambling around for transfer money, and they're putting your season ticket up and also charging for Newcastle, you go, all right, okay, I see. We're all going to play our part here. But see, when you get 70 to 100 million pound in the bank and they're lumping it on, the optics are just.
That's what I mean. It's like they'll just keep paying anyway, and it's like, listen.
The reality of, like, you are going with the two boys, right? But roll that across the stadium for a mum and a dad and a couple of kids. It's not like just you're putting the price onto one season ticket. You're putting it onto sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5 season tickets.
And much like they've lucked out with getting 20 million for Jota, they've lucked out with their donor pies as well. Now, they might be charging £6 for them, but they're quality.
Anyway.
They're quality.
They're decent.
They're the best thing about Celtic.
Oh no, it's the macaroni pies.
They're quality. Donor pies quality. Good wee kick to them as well.
Yeah, so lots at play, and lots of fans with lots of different opinions right now, and I think this is the important thing. So there's a further meeting taking place in Glasgow on Thursday of this week. I'll be there. You might be there. Maybe TBC. But anyway, it's with the collective and representatives of the 420 signatories. Some will be in the building at the time, some will be joining through a Zoom call, etc. And I suppose it'll be here's where we're at. So we last met, I think it was around about 10th of September. So it'll be something like, here's what's happened since then, and here's how we plan to progress. And I would be amazed, James, given the tone after that meeting last week, I'd be amazed if there's no further action planned. I think protest is almost certain.
Yeah.
What type of format do you think this protest will arrive in, and will you support it?
I will support it first and foremost, absolutely. Visible and noisy is what it should be. Not silent. It doesn't work.
No, I think that's done, hasn't it? I think most would agree that's run its course.
But if you actually want to get people to take notice, a structured and organised financial boycott, not just of Celtic, but of partners of Celtic, that's where you get notice.
So the Adidas thing,
we've got a jersey coming out and it looks, the special jersey and all this, blah, blah, blah. If Celtic fans en masse do not buy that jersey, you better believe it, Adidas are talking to Celtic and say, what the hell is going on there?
Do you see that happening though? Because I think the people that buy that...
What do you want?
Keep on bringing out right smart gear, but...
What do you want? Do you want a cool jersey or do you want a decent transfer window? If you had to pick between the two...
Some people just want a cool jersey.
And you'd have a transfer window every single season.
But that's families and kids and stuff and different folks.
Have you seen the away top zipper?
No.
See, listen, so I'm not mad on the Adidas gear and the special gear, but I'll never buy it, even if the sun is shining in Celtic. Yeah. It's just not for me. But there's people who are delighted with this partnership with Adidas, and I think the people that would have bought that will still generally buy it. And I think it's a real hard thing to ask them not to, because this is what they enjoy.
If the collective take an organised stance on this and say, look, that one jersey is one jersey we're imploring everyone not to buy, right? And not they will sell units, but they won't sell the units they thought they would, and that's what get you attention.
I think it's going to be really hard to do the financial thing. I reference Alan Morris, and again, Alan from Huddle Breakdown. Alan was saying that if you want to play the financial long game, Celtic have got deep pockets.
That's a different
and
thing.
It'll take a long time.
What he's talking about is if you want to financially take on Dermot Desmond in court to get his shares or whatever it may be, or try and buy him.
He was referencing don't buy the pies and all that stuff. He's talking about the Donner pies. That's what he's saying. I
thought Alan was talking more about if you want to go up against Dermot Desmond.
Nobody was talking in that conversation about taking Desmond to task or taking him to court or anything like that. It was the whole thing about hit them where it hurts, hit them in the pocket. And in principle, I get that. And I think that can have a real impact. But as I say, I generally feel that those who buy the merch will continue to buy merch, and those who don't. We don't. You do, because of the young fellas. Are you still going to buy it? Are your boys going to say, Dad, we don't want the strips because we know there's a few issues at the club at the moment?
The older Ian, maybe he'd be a bit more militant on that. The wee Ian, no. I might need to get up my Celtic slippers.
But let's say you were going to buy 2 jerseys there. Would you buy one?
Well, see the thing is, I think if it was part of a planned and structured protest, I probably would take part. I probably would die. Just purely because there has to be a movement. And it has to be unified. What's the point in having something structured in a protest if no everybody's going to do it?
I've got to say, I agree with all of this, right? But I'm just looking at the realities of it all.
You're playing devil's advocate. It's absolutely fine to do that. And again, if somebody was to go and buy the strip for their kids, then fair enough. But where does it end? There has to be a line drawn at some point where to take effective action against the board. What does this board love more than anything else? Money.
Your money.
Your money. They love it.
So as I say, there's this meeting coming up on Thursday night, so we've got a lot more information and what the planned protest will be. And as I say, there may be calls for boycott. I'm not sure if fans are going to buy that. And I don't know, it's a tricky one, isn't it? So you're right to make those suggestions, and there'll be loads of suggestions doing the rounds. And I suppose this is where push comes to shove. If people really want to see a difference, then it can't be cosy. There will need to be sacrifice in some way, shape or form. Last question just on this topic in general, and I'm just going off something anecdotally. I spoke to a couple of lads at a football thing yesterday, and they were saying they were bored with it all. And these are both guys actually, they go on supporters buses, big Celtic fans, huge part of their life, and they've just got a wee bit tired with it already. And I always feared that this would be the case, given the anger is through the roof on the 1st of September when we blow the transfer window, and everyone's furious and we're all kicking up fuss at that point. And then a week later, you're a bit less angry to the point where you're like, there's a bit of ambivalence from some folk. And as I say, it's anecdotal. It's just from some folk. And as I say, we'll find out on Thursday at the meeting what the temperature is in the room. But where are you at on it all just now? Are you fed up? Is it time to double down? What's your stance?
I'm white hot, as angry as I was on the 1st of September. I think that's part of the collective job as well. There's parts I forgot. The part of like either going, not going, gone, because we're signing a striker. Oh, we must be signing a striker. No, you're not. That in particular, I'd almost forgot that. It just came to mind the other day. I was like, geez, they actually did that, didn't they? And then you get the Dyes and stuff and the Yang stuff and whatever else, and having to go to Iheanacho and the kind of after the transfer window shuts. Collective have got to have a bit of a...
Turns out Iheanacho was a stroke of genius.
Brilliant.
Credit where it's due.
But it's going to the Rodgers Rolodeck.
Of course.
The solution. It's like that, right?
The way it arrived is shambolic. Right.
So,
the Villa text.
it's sitting by the pool. But part of the collective's job is to don't forget this is how you felt on the 1st of September. Remind them how they felt on the 1st of September and remind them why they felt that way. Because human nature, anger dissipates.
Anger is going to be one of the biggest weapons in the collective's armoury.
Yes.
There is a danger it is.
Well, yes, but there's also danger it can boil over as well. That's what I mean. It's about how this is balanced. But for me, what gets in the way is supporting the team. That's
I don't think that ever should. I don't think it will.
I think with the anger though,
how angry are you if you win those 7 games?
It's the emotion of supporting the team because you're happy if the team win it. That will never change. But if the team get beat, you're absolutely furious. So you're furious about everything. You're not just furious about the result. You're then furious about the board. And
your fuse is so short.
It's just naturally you get into we mentioned there those games in a row. So all of a sudden you go into that mode of you're just every 3 days you're supporting the team, supporting the team. How the protests or the discussions are driven will invariably be affected by those results. Because if you win all 7 games, you're like, all day, let's go, everything's great. If you don't, if you lose 4 of them, you better believe that temperature is going to be red hot, molten.
Yeah, I mean, this is the contradictory position that a lot of fans will find themselves in. They are fuming at the board, but first and foremost, they're Celtic football fans. They want to see Celtic win. And if Celtic continue to win, the sun is shining again. But if they draw and or lose a couple of these 7 games, then you're fuming again. It's a strange position to be in.
It is. You've got to hope that the anger in 7 games' time is wildly dissipated because human nature dictates that it will if you're winning and stuff like that. You can't ask 60,000 people to be compartmentalising the experts and say, put that over there and put that over there. It's just not possible in any large group of people. Some will be able to, some don't, or some naturally, some don't. So you'd have to work your tactics around being able to, well, first and foremost, the team has to be supported, particularly this team, given how fragmented it is and how kind of stretched it is. The team has to be supported, but fans have got to be reminded going back, not this season, last season, that these are the shambles that they've put in front of you for the last however many years. Some fan sites have been really good at listing the exits, and I think there was banners, the exits. It was at Thistle, the exits in Europe to this team.
Oh yeah,
that was good. That kind of thing has to go on because it's a constant reminder of and the thing is, like I said it last week, if you want things to change, you're going to have to, not let your anger dissipate to the point where you become apathetic about it. If you want better professional behaviour at Celtic, then you have to put your shoulder behind the boycotts, the protests, whatever it may be, and help us out here.
So that, and I am being flippant here, but the challenge for the collective and others is to get everybody just stay as angry as you can for another few months, please. Stay fuming. And that is it. And it's these reminders. You're right, the Partick Thistle protest was, I don't know who put us out. Cluj,
Malmo.
All those, Maribor, all those things. They're things that get you angry. That's where the visibility of the campaign plays a part, because I think most folk thought it was done pretty well at Thistle. There was a lot of visibility in the stands and people holding up the, no entry type signs through different board members. And the silent protest, by the opposite tone, it wasn't as visible. It was easy to ignore. We've spoken about all these factors.
Try and feel us
easy to ignore.
Just find your
I think there's a massive part of Celtic, just generally speaking, there's a lot of creative, clever people that back Celtic, and I expect and hope that there's creative, clever ways to protest in the weeks.
There's a lot of fans sitting waiting to say "I told you so" as well. Say "I told you it wouldn't work." There is that element as well.
Definitely.
You get that too. So I think you just need to remember what the actual goal is here. It's for Celtic to be that dynamic, progressive club on and off the pitch that we want. On the pitch, we've had that over the years, and that's been great. But when it needs backed from off the pitch, I think that's been failing a bit, and it's came crashing down at this transfer window.
Yeah, the common thread that should run through everybody, of a Celtic persuasion, is we all want to see the club do better. Even though we'll all disagree at times on how to get there, the overarching theme should be we all want to see Celtic do better. And I would include those that are at the club at this moment in time, unpopular as that may sound. There are people at Celtic just now who absolutely want the same thing. And it's whether we can find a solution with further meetings and further dialogue to make progress hand in hand, whilst also maybe seeing some radical change to how we do things and how we operate in different ways. Lots going on, lads, as mentioned, on and off the park, but it's been a busy show so far. And give us your final comments for this one, James.
I just get into, as you've said, on the daily and the top of the show, it's getting into a really interesting period. It's crucial we get things going. And I think we will get things going at Dundee on Sunday. And then you're saying about the every 3 days you're spun. That's exactly why I'm a Celtic
If you're looking for a football manager that's going to win you games, then I'm not your man. That's my Elvis impression.
It was all right. I thought that was your Brendan Rodgers about maintaining. I get so confused there. Your wide array of impersonations has thrown me. As mentioned before, I forget, the meeting is on Thursday night, and I'll be doing an extended version of the daily on Friday, so there'll be a full update for everyone on the Patreon for that one. But Miff, your own final thoughts for the week.
Yeah, well, lovely to be back, first and foremost. I'd missed you, lads. So, good to be back. Good to be chatting my brand of usual nonsense and bring on that deluge of games.
7 wins from 7.
I'm in for a ticket for Dens, so fingers crossed.
Right, hopefully you get that. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll see how the next 7 days go, but nothing boring at Celtic at this moment in time. So that's all on this latest episode of Celtic Exchange Weekly. Thanks to James and Miff for being here this week, but most importantly, thanks to you for continuing to back us here on Celtic Exchange. We'll be back on Friday with the countdown to kick-off show before Sunday's game with Dundee. And to enjoy that and all the extra content we provide, be sure to check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Celtic Exchange. And if you think you know the answers to this week's 5 in a row, and fire them over to me as soon as possible on Tino at thecelticexchange.com. Only 20 places available for that one. But that aside, have a brilliant week. We'll see you back soon for the next one.